Number 16. Yes, masalang na. 4 chambers of the heart. Number 17. 10 years in a decade. Number 18. Sir. 4 quarts in a gallon. Number 19. Napakasimple naman ito. Sir Ray. Yes, ma'am. Ang galing. 3 stars of the Philippine flag. Who got perfect? Who got perfect? Wala? Okay. Did you enjoy the game? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, okay. This morning we had a meaningful and wonderful learning experiences, and I find it a healthy learning experience. It's not of a personal way, but it's more of a professional way of expressing our clarifications and concerns. Okay, and it's very good. But I just would like to quote this message, and something that would ponder us. When a bird is alive, it eats ants. When the bird is dead, ants eat the bird. Time and circumstances can change at any time. Don't devalue or hurt anyone in life. You may be powerful today, but remember, time is more powerful than you. 1 tree makes a million matchsticks. Only 1 matchstick needed to burn a million trees. So I just would like all of you to ponder on that particular words of wisdom. Okay? Now, let me go back to an activity, our activity this morning, which is all about assessment. Okay? So para po guided po tayo, para po hindi tayo mawawala sa ating patutunguhan. Okay? Now, the objective of our activity or intention is to really know some of the principles of assessment, and that we can develop a prototype assessment tool, okay, in our respective region. Assessment sometimes is often viewed as separate in the learning process. Am I right? Because before, assessment is usually done at the end of the course or at the end of the lesson. However, assessment should be an integral part of the teaching learning process. And according to Yusek Ocampo, that the ultimate goal of assessment is to improve the quality of teaching. Okay? Now, Dr. Andrade also discussed the 3 levels of assessment, or the levels of assessment. So those are the knowledge, the process skills, understanding, and product performance. So we should be guided of the 4 levels of assessment. And you are already familiar of the different or the definitions of those levels of assessment. Now, kanina ko rin ito ginawa kasi yung talk kasi kanina is more of parang binigay lang yung types of assessment, yung pre-assessment, formative, and then yung summative assessment. Siguro yung magiging attack nyo sa teachers nito, when you go back to your respective regions, siguro ilatag nyo sa kanila kung ano yung mga different tools na pwedeng magamit ng mga teachers doon sa kanilang classroom. So, nilagay ko na yan, ginawa ko na lang yan, para at least for your own consumption din, na pwede ninyo may bahagi po yan sa mga teachers. So, sa pre-assessment tools, marami po tayong tools na pwedeng gawin sa pag-pre-assess po ng prior knowledge. So, ano na po lahat? Sir, sabihin na po. Yung teacher observations, learning profiles, ANW charts, journals, parent letters, products, performances. And I know that you are already familiar with these tools of the pre-assessment. So again, pre-assessment tools, these are actually used in order to pre-assess the prior learning of our students. And we should always remember that the students, pag nag-proceed na siya ng grade 8, meron na po siyang mga background agad. Meron na po siyang mga prior knowledge. May mga misconceptions na dapat natin tugunan so that our teaching learning process would not be hampered or hindi po siya ma-impede. Kasi mapanganib po yun kung yung misconceptions na yun ay hindi po natin maagapan agad. Okay? The next one, okay, when are you going to pre-assess? Would be at the beginning of the year. Yung iba naman at the end of the year, at the beginning of each semester, or at the beginning of a unit. Now, the second type of assessment is what we call the formative assessment. So, the formative assessment is actually used to give feedback to our students. And of course, to inform the teaching learning process of the teacher. So, in the formative assessment, always remember that hindi po ito nakafocus sa right answers ng mga bata, but instead of the description of each answer and the reasoning behind each answer. So yun po ang sa formative assessment tools natin. So we have different kinds of assessment tools na pwedeng gamitin ng teacher to assess that student. Like we have the index card, summaries, questions. Kung baga, bibigyan niyo yung mga bata ng index card, and then you instruct the students na sa one side ng index card, isusulat nila kung anong mga concepts ang nalalaman nila doon sa topic na yon. At the other side of the index card, isusulat naman nila kung ano yung medyo hindi nila naiintindihan in a form of question. So yan kumbaga yan, that's a kind of tool na pwede rin gamitin natin sa formative assessment. Hand signals. Yung sabi nga ni Ma'am Nolan kanina, nung nagtanong siya, kuha niyo ba? Well, that is a form of assessment already. Hand signals, pwede gamitin kung naiintindihan ninyo ako, okay, thumbs up. Kung hindi medyo naiintindihan, kung kulang pa, thumbs down. Kung talagang hindi naiintindihan at all, okay, wave your hands. Still, that is a form of formative assessment. We also have the 1-minute essay. Okay, marami. Analogy prompt. Parang, analogy prompt is like, physical fitness is like a blank. Or, physical fitness is like a water. And why? That's analogy prompt. That's an example of analogy prompt. We also have the web or the concept map. Okay? Misconception, check. Student conference. Think, pair, share. It's very common. Idea spinner. Para sa gitna sila, tapos may button sa gitna, tapos i-spin nila yun kung sino yung matamaan ng bote na yun. So, meron siyang pumuni na papel, tapos basahin niya kung ano yung andun sa papel. We also have the 3-minute post, observation. We also have the self-assessment. We also have the exit card. Paglabas nila, may bibigay sila sa teacher. Exit card, portfolio check, quiz, journal entry, oral response, and then oral questioning. So these are some of the few formative tools na pwedeng magamit ng teacher. So depende na sa inyo, nung pagdating nyo sa region, bahala na kayo on how to give a concrete examples of these particular formative tools. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Lolit that we should strengthen the formative tools. The students should take seriously in the formative tools dahil hindi siya makaproceed or mapasa yung summative assessment kung hindi pa ready yung bata. Kaya nga dapat sa formative assessment, i-strengthen na natin yung pagbibigay ng formative assessment. Okay? Then, sa summative assessment tools, yan, mga example na pwedeng gamitin natin sa summative assessment tools, yung practicum, demonstration, periodical test, generalization table, checklist, problem solution chart, and concept map. Ilan lang ito sa mga summative tools na pwedeng magamit ng isang teacher doon sa kanyang classroom. Okay? So, Sergio, next po. Okay, sa DepEd Order number 73 po ninyo, kasi kanina pinag-usapan natin, kasi parang may one participant, sabi niya, kasi parang, though I respect their views or perspectives na parang yung sa assessment tools knowledge ng lahat. Well, okay, we respect that one. Okay, parang gusto niya ata na mag-level up naman po yung knowledge. And how are we going to do that? Okay, ito na po yun. We're going to do this step by step. No? That's the very reason why we have those activity earlier this morning. Because we're going to do this step by step for us to understand. Okay. Yan po, halimbawa, sa first column, syempre nakalagay yung content standards ninyo at saka performance standards. Kasi nga naka-anchor po tayo doon sa content at saka sa performance standards. Okay? Okay, yung first column po, yan na po yung level of assessment. Yung knowledge, yung process skills, yung understanding, at saka yung product and performance. Now, ang tanong ngayon, what will I assess? Ano ba ang assess ko sa bata? Ano ba ang dapat i-perform ng bata doon po sa different levels of assessment? Now, you will going to go back to the curriculum guide doon sa learning competencies kasi yun po ang i-assess. Okay? Yung mga learning competencies na yun. Halimbawa, sa knowledge, sa health yan, identify the different dimensions of health. Now, that's very, knowledge siya in the sense na identify kasi siya eh. Kumbaga, when you develop learning competency, titingnan din ninyo ano yung action verb niya. Identify, describe, draw, list, name. These are knowledge, action verbs. Diba? Kasi titingnan din natin yung ano eh, yung anong action verbs siya. So, identify is just a simple action verbs that will assess the level of knowledge of our students. Ngayon, paano ipoprocess yan ng bata? Analyze one's behavior or desired practices behavior for attaining holistic health. The word analyze. We'll see to it na yung magiging activity mo sa process and skills ay connected po siya doon sa knowledge level. Hindi po pwedeng mag-jump ka na walang connection. Titingnan niyo, I know this is a very tedious work. Hindi ito kayang gawin ng isang oras, ng ilang oras man lang. Mahirap po ito. Kasi mag-iisip po kayo, paano ninyo gagawin ito. Ngayon, ano magiging understanding ito? Understanding the attainment of holistic health is a personal responsibility. Andyan po yan sa learning competencies ninyo. At ang magiging product and performance niya, manage one's health concerns during puberty as may be articulated in an action plan to achieve holistic health. Or yung inyong performance standard. Okay? Yan po na column na yan, ang tinatawag natin what will I assess na naka-base doon sa learning competencies na nasa inyong curriculum guide. At kung sa palagayan ninyo, ang learning competency na yan ay medyo broad siya masyado, did you break down that one into instructional objectives? Kasi these are two different words, yung learning competency at saka yung instructional objectives. Dapat alam natin kung ano yung i-assess natin sa bata, kung ano yung dapat i-perform ng bata dito sa 4 levels of assessment. Okay? Dahil yan po ang gagawin ninyo ngayong hapon. Ngayon, iraran ko na lang natin po yung performance task at saka paggawa ng rubrics kasi po, connected po siya lahat. Kung meron na po kayong learning competency na dapat i-assess sa knowledge level, ano yung how will I assess? Ano yung magiging performance task ng bata for him or her to achieve yung sa what will I assess? Ano yung ipapagawa niyo sa bata? Halimbawa, Sir Joe, balik doon sa ano. Sige pa po, Sir Joe. Okay yan, how will I assess? Using the paper and the pencil test. Well, that's an additional form of assessment, no? That's a paper and pencil test. Kasi ang knowledge naman, usually paper and pencil test. But you can modify that one. Meron po tayong mga alternative assessment na pwedeng gamitin. Pero usually nga, minsan, dahil tamad ng teachers, they stick to the paper and the pencil test. Like multiple choice, or identify na lang kung anong dimensions of health yun. That's a simple performance task to assess your knowledge. And how are you going to score? Talk po yan later on ng ating kasamahan, yung pag-develop ng prototype rubrics. Kasi ano yung magiging basis mo. Okay? So, every correct answer is given 1 point. So, parang wala masyadong rubric kasi nga it's a simple identification. Pagdating sa process, paano niya i-assess yun? Checklist on the health habits and practices. Gumagamit siya ng checklist. Kaya kung paano niya i-assess yung competency na yun. So how will I score? Pag-develop na siya ng rubrics. Doon na lalabas ang rubrics. Paano mo yun gagawin? And then sa understanding, the same process, understanding, Sir Joe, Sir Joe, sa understanding, yan, reflection lang ang ginamit po. How to assess that competency, gumamit siya ng reflection lang. And then sa products and performance, ang ginamit niya ay yung gumawa na siya ng action plan. Okay? So, later on, yung activity na gagawin ninyo ay tapusin muna natin yung performance task at saka yung rubrics bago po ninyo gawin ang prototype assessment tool by region. Sa music, sa arts, sa PE, at saka sa health. Anyway, meron na po kayong mga curriculum guide dyan. So yung what will I assess, again, doon po yun sa inyong mga learning competencies. Yung mga power standards ninyo na na-identify kahapon. Okay? Now, you should not be confused with the formative and the summative because hindi po pwedeng ang formative ay maipasok sa summative. I heard kasi kanina may nag-question kung pwede bang i-combine ang formative at saka ang summative assessment. Now, setting the formative assessment, no, for setting the formative assessment to the summative assessment, well, actually, according sa mga experts, this is very dangerous because it will actually give the students parang a reason kung na hindi nila ma-express kung anong nalalaman nila. Kasi sa formative assessment, the purpose of giving a formative assessment is to give an opportunity to the students to express the knowledge gaps and the areas of difficulty. So hindi po pwedeng i-combine ang formative assessment at saka ang summative assessment. Okay, parang narinig ko na yung kanina, kaso walang open forum doon kay Ma'am Loli. So, ayun, parang hindi po nasagot yun. So, ngayon, iraranton muna natin ang performance task and this is to be done by Mr. Johansen Yap bago po ninyo gawin yung prototype assessment tool. Sir Johan.
Okay po. So, after po nung topic ni Sir Jerry sa level of assessment, punta tayo sa performance task. Okay? So, yung performance task, ito po yung activity sa transfer phase. So, yung pinaka-last phase po ng bawat lesson. Okay? So, ito po ay naka-align with the performance standard. So, kung ano po yung nakalagay na performance standard dyan sa curriculum guide nyo, so that will be your basis for making your performance task. If you will look at your copy of teaching guide and learning material, meron na po siyang nilagay na performance tasks bawat lesson. Okay? Sir? Okay? So, gagawa po kayo ngayon ng performance task based on the performance standard. So, since nandito na po by region at kompleto na po, music, arts, PE, and health. So, bawat region po, magsama-sama po yung naka-assign sa music. Okay? Yung naka-assign sa arts. Di na po magko-combine ang music and arts. Pumili po kayo kung sino po yung gagawa po ng sample performance task sa music. Okay? Sa bawat quarter. Tapos doon, arts, bawat quarter. PE, bawat quarter. And health, bawat quarter. So para pag baba niyo po sa region nyo, kung gusto niyo i-localize yung performance task, prepared na po kayo when you go back to your region. So you have 30 minutes to do the performance task. You can use the LM or the TG as your guide, but you make something different from the activity from the LM and the TG. Okay, kunyari po, example po sa health. Quarter 4. Gagawa po ng advocacy material about cigarette and alcohol. Okay? So, ang nilagay po dyan sa module, the students can create either song or poem or video or a poster about their advocacy against smoking and alcohol drinking. So ngayon, mag-create kayo ng something else. Marami pong tools sabi nga po ni Sir Jerry kanina. There are different tools in creating your activity and assessing the level of performance of your learners. So ngayon, gagawa po tayo sample. Malay niyo po yung sample something better than the suggested activity in the learning material and the teaching guide. So you have 30 minutes to do that with your region. Okay? May paper na po ba? Okay. Yung assigned groups po, can you please help us? Thank you po.
Okay, checking lang po tayo ha. Are we all familiar with performance tasks? Okay, would it be alright if we give give you some inputs first? Okay, sige po. Okay, so ganito po yun. Kasi sinishortcut na namin, tinatanggalan na namin yung ibang mga activities. Sabi nyo, ay salamat. Okay, ganito po yun. Gusto lang namin i-connect Sir Jerry presented to you some clarifications on the pre-assessment, right? The formative assessment, and summative assessment. Although very clear naman yung presentation ni Ma'am Lolin. Very clear naman. Ang sinasabi niyo po kanina, the matrix which was showed to you, yun po yung aming basis in crafting our performance task. We always start with identifying which among the competencies. So, hindi po kami mag-prescribe kung anong competency ang gusto nyong gawa ng assessment or gawa ng task. It's up to you, but you have to identify if that particular learning competency is knowledge, if it requires process or skill or understanding, or if it's a competency for transfer. Okay? So, from there, once na-identify na ninyo, ang gagawin ninyo yung how will I assess. If you identify performance task as your tool, then this is the process on how to do or some tips on how to formulate or create a performance task. Ano po ba ang understanding natin? Yung dati nating natutunan about performance task? Anyone? What did you understand about performance task? Are there elements? May mga elemento bang performance task? Wala ba nakaalala kung ano pang performance task? Is it a situation? Is it a question? What? Performance task. Ang connotation, it's a task for you to perform, right? It's a task for you to perform. But let's see, let's check the definition. It says here that performance tasks are what? Complex challenges that mirror the issues and problems faced by adults. Okay. Baka ma-connect nyo na health lang. But basically, performance task has, are you familiar with grasps? G-R-A-S-P-S. What does G mean? Okay. So when you create a task, there must be one clear goal. Yung example kanina ni Ma'am Lolit, you were given a plate, di ba? Anong goal niya? To make correct food choices. Tama ba? correct decision in choosing food. That's the goal. So, ang performance task daw, kailangan very clear or there must be a clear goal. Second, what is R? Role. Okay. In that particular example, what's the role given? Anong role na binigay sa'yo? Pwede kasi sabihin na you are an advocate of fitness. So that's your role. In that case, para daw, you were invited, di ba? To a party. Oh, that's a role. Kumbaga clear kung ano yung persona na magpe-perform. So, not necessarily student. Di ba? Not necessarily student. You can ask you can put in the role like, if you want them to plan, probably you could say, okay, write a letter to your barangay captain. You are the president of SK. Parang ganon. So that's a role. You write to your barangay captain stating your plan about like this and like that. That's the role. So, in a performance task daw, there must be a goal and that there must be a role. The third A, audience. You have to know the audience. Although in some performance tasks, hindi na po na-include yun. Pero dapat clear din po doon, who are you, para bang, who are the people benefiting from it? Or, para bang, kanino mo, ano ba, how do you say it? Kanino mo ginagawa itong act mo? Parang gano'n. Let's say, you are going to make a plan for the community in, you are going to make a fitness plan in Payatas. So, ano yung sinasabi nating audience? Sino tina-target natin doon? Target client din natin doon? People in Payatas. Okay? So, what else? What's the S? The S is situation. You create situation. Kanina nga natuwa ko kasi first example ni Ma'am Lolit Hill. Ano situation na isa na sa isang party? Very authentic. Kasi siguro wala naman sa atin hindi pa nakaka-attend ng party. So, there must be a clear situation. If possible, the situation must be authentic. If I am going to ask my students to learn about nutritional facts or value dun sa mga produktong binibili nila, ang authentic situation na pwede kong gawin, okay, you are given 100 pesos by your mother to buy cooking oil. Authentic yung situation. Authentic yung task. Right? Kasi lahat naman talaga tayo bumibili ng cooking oil sa grocery o sa sari-sari store. But the point here is that we should be clear about the situation. What else after S? Okay, product. Ano na ngayon ang expected product mo for that particular task? What do you want your students to do or to perform or to create? Diba? Tulad kanina, okay. Good choices of food. Pag inutusan ko naman bumili ng mantika, ano naman? Correct? Tama ba? Para bang cooking oil that is with more nutritional value than any other cooking oil, something like that. That's the product. Or product could also be performance. So if I ask you to make production, then the product is the performance. And the last S is standard. So anong standard natin? Standard natin, you always connect it. Diba? You always connect it with the one set by everyone. And we can always align it with the existing standard or the one being presented to you right now. So basically, ito po yung elemento. This could be your guide in crafting your performance task. You have the goal, You have the role, the audience, situation, the product, and, okay, the standard. Sa madaling sabi, pag sinabi natin performance task, it's a situation. Hindi lang siya item or question in a test. It could be, but before you ask the question, you should be able to clarify the task or the situation. Okay? So yung po yung sinasabi natin performance task. Now, mabilis ah. Next. Ano yung kasunod kanina yung tips? The other one, the first presentation. Okay? Nagre-range daw po ang kanyang length. Diba? Kanina, please go back. Sabi dito, nagre-range ang kanyang length. It could be a short-term task, to long-term. It could be multi-stage projects. They yield one or more tangible products and performances. So basically, it's a it's a complex challenge for our students. Okay, next. What are the indicators of good performance tasks? So ito po yung mga dapat natin consider. One, kindly read, sir.
Involve a well-simulated setting and the kind of constraints, background, noise, incentives, and opportunities an adult would find in a similar situation. So example is, they are authentic.
Sinasabi nga natin, in other words, they are authentic. Hindi yung very ideal na you are asked to perform in Cultural Center of the Philippines. It could be, yes. Pero aminin natin, hindi naman lahat pwedeng gawin yon. So, you create a task which is authentic, realistic, and probably, I would say, relevant to their context, to their needs. Okay? Next. Ma'am?
Typically require the students to address and identify audience, real or simulated.
Okay. Typically require the students to address an identified audience. That's what I'm saying. It could be real or simulated. Pwedeng siya as a learner, or you can create a particular persona or even a particular audience for that purpose. So if you ask your students, kunwari sa fitness, if you ask your students to create exercises for your family, for the family members, so yun real yun. Ang kanyang consideration ngayon, yung kanyang family. But you can have also simulated. You can have other kind of audience that would benefit the physical exercises that the students would create. Okay? Next. Ma'am?
Are based on a specific purpose that relates to the audience.
Yes. It's basically the same thing. And the fourth one?
Allow students greater opportunity to personalize the task.
Allow daw po yung to personalize the task. Kaya nga po sinasabi natin na you create a particular scenario that is more relevant to the student. Kasi pag hindi siya relevant, how can you personalize? How can you own, di ba? If it's not really relevant to one's situation. So, a good performance task must what? Create greater opportunity to personalize that particular exercise, that particular activity. And the last one, ma'am, please.
Are not secure. The task evaluative criteria, performance standards are known in advance and guide students.
Okay. This refers to the last S, yung sa grasps. Hirap. Okay, sabi dyan standard. But then, sabi pa rin natin, let it be known in advance. If this is the standard that I want to follow and this will be the basis of my assessment, then let it be known in advance. So basically, yung standard daw po, nandoon na built-in na sa performance task. Okay? But we're not saying naman na lahat ng ito sa lahat ng task na gagawin mo perfect o kumpleto. Sinasabi lang natin, these are indicators and the grasp could be your guide in creating one. A good performance task. Okay. Now, Sir Johan here will show you some examples of performance tasks. And then siguro po, we can get some ideas from you on how we can further improve so that when you go back, we can also share the same example. Okay?
Kaya, thank you po, Ma'am Abby. Okay. So, yun yung yung grasp, yung goal, role, audience, situation, performance, and standard. So, yung standard, dapat meron tayong rubric. I remember yung question ni isang ma'am from Ilocos Region 1, yung paano yung performance susukatin. Okay? So, by using a rubric. So, yung sample na papakita natin, meron na pong ready-made rubric. Okay? But you can create your own. Sabi ko nga kaya, you can create your own a different way. It can be a narrative. Okay? So, pwedeng nagsimula ng you were tasked by your boss to create an advocacy material which is against smoking. So how are you going to create it? And then, who can be your audience? And then, merong presentation ng rubrics. Okay? So, transfer. Okay. So, this is an example of a possible performance task. So, now that you know how cigarette smoking negatively affects the body and the environment, it is time to produce advocacy materials for the prevention of cigarette use. What do you think is the goal? Anybody? Sir Ray?
Stop or minimize.
Stop or minimize or quit. Kung hindi stop, you can quit smoking. So that is the goal. What is your role? What is your role, Ma'am Aerobics? Ano po yung possible role? Sabi ni Ma'am, as an advocator. Okay, so possible. As an advocate for stopping smoking or quitting smoking, you're going to create an advocacy material. Who will be your audience? Who will be your audience, sir? Okay. Smokers, ma'am? Okay, everybody can be your audience. Okay? Now, can this be a real life or a situation? Can it be a real life? Why, ma'am? Why?
We can relate this one into a real life situation because today, cigarette smoking is one of the problems in our society, and many people are dying because of cigarette smoking.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Why a situation? Why a situation? Di ba sabi ka kanina, it can also be a situation. Paano po? Okay? Pwede kasing mag-role playing. Diba? Yung mga classmates nyo rin or other students, you can invite them for them to view your advocacy material. So that can be a situation. Okay? Meron po? Yes, sir.
We should clarify the advocacy. Kasi yung smoking, yung cigarette, is an industry. So, maraming mahihirapan ng mga tobacco farmers pag ignore. Second, siguro we just minimize. Kasi meron tayong government warning, cigarette is dangerous to your health. So, meron din silang ngayon, cigarette warning, government is dangerous to your health.
Sir, actually tama din po si sir. Kasi diba, cigarette is an industry, hindi rin basta-basta. So, doon po lalabas yung creativity ng advocator. In this case, your learners. Doon po lalabas yun. Pwede po nilang i-push yung advocacy material for quitting smoking. Have you seen that kind of advocacy material in the print ads or the internet? May nakakita na po ba nung ganon? Or meron din, di ba talaga nakalagay, quit smoking. Tapos may sa ibang bansa, talagang naka-picture pa yung isang taong may cancer sa throat or cancer sa mouth. Talagang pinapakita nila. Why? Because they want the people to quit smoking. Meron namang iba, parang reduce lang. Kaya nakalagay, government warning, cigarette smoking is dangerous to your health. But it will be better if they can create something new.
At all lang po, siguro magandang activity for the advocacy is to ask the students for an action plan or action research, knowing that the syntax law was enacted it's already enacted, and then the students perhaps will make a survey in terms of percentages, kung na-minimize ba or na-worsen ba yung number of people who are smoking. Thank you.
So, nakita niyo yung example ni sir? That is an example of a performance task. Right, sir? So that is now a performance task. So, si sir, pwede niyang gawin yun mamaya doon sa activity ng region. That can be your region's performance task activity. Okay? Now, ano yung next? Audience. Ano yung S? Situation. Ano yung situation? What is the situation for the performance task? Ano po yung situation? For our example. are riding on a bus. Can you explain that number? Sabi ni ma'am, you are riding on a bus. Kaya naiyak si ma'am. Ano po yung situation? Anybody? Ano ba yung gagawin? We will? Ano po yung gagawin? Anybody po? Ano po yung gagawin natin? What is the situation? So we will create an advocacy material, di ba? So that is the situation. Or, kanina sabi ko, the situation is you were assigned by your pwedeng team leader or boss to create an advocacy material. So that is the situation. Okay? So yung product, what will be the product? Okay, materials. Like, ano-ano yung mga different kinds of advocacy materials, ma'am?
Posters, tarpaulins, slogans, jingles.
So yun yung mga example ng advocacy materials. Okay? And the last S. Ano po yung last S? Standards. So always check your performance task with your standard. Okay? Gusto ko lang pong ano to. Hindi ko na ipa-flash. I'll just read it to you. Okay, so the performance task yields appropriate evidence of the targeted standard. So always check your performance task against your performance standard. Baka po na sobrang natuwa na kayo, nawala na kayo doon sa alignment with the standard. Okay? The performance task involves real life, authentic, or it can also be a situation na possible na pwedeng ma-experience ng learners nyo in the near future. Okay? So the task is contextualized. Isulat nyo siya na maintindihan ng inyong learners. It should be simple and clear. Baka po gumawa po tayo 2 pages. Sobrang mahaba na po. Alam naman po natin ang learners po natin ayaw magbasa ng mahaba. So make it simple. Okay? But clear. Okay? So the task requires explanation and or support. Kaya meron kayong narrative doon. You have your statement. Okay? And then, of course, there should be a scoring rubric. Okay? So, but before we go to the rubric, you will first do your sample performance task by region. So, music, arts, PE, and health. Okay, so the music and arts will be giving their own example for the performance task. Ang Bindin. Thank you po.
So we proceed with the giving of example of a performance task from music and arts. Para po, the music and arts group will also be guided as to how they're going to prepare for their activities, or outputs.
Okay, good afternoon po. Isang performance task na maganda para po sa art. Sa art lang po ito ho, ay nung paggagawa, let's say kayo po ang mag-exhibit, kayo po yung curator ng exhibit. So ang paggagawa niyo po ay isang, may magkakaroon po kayo na sculpture exhibit. Sculpture chapter exhibit featuring sculptures po with materials like soap. Nandito po yun sa ating LM. Tulad po ng soap. Tapos po kahapon may nag-suggest po sa amin, doon po sa locality nila na halimbawa mahal ng soap, pwede po silang gumamit ng patatas, carrots, o kaya po yung po mga available materials na mayroon sa locality. Mayroon pong sinabong kanina si Ma'am Tin. Narinig po nila lang. May sinabong po kanina si Ma'am Tin. Mayroon daw po sila nakita na ang sculpture na ang ginawa po exhibit ay yung corn cob. Corn cob, yung mais. Yung po mais. O yung corn cobs, ginawaan po siya ng damit at naging para po mga nagkaroon po ng national dresses na pinakita po dun sa corn cob. Isa po yun sa magandang performance task na pwede po natin ipagawa sa bata. Ang audience po ninyo, pwede po kayong mag-ano naman, yung ating mga estudyante, pwede po natin silang pakitaan nito, and at the same time po, magkakaroon pa po sila ng kaalaman. Sabihin mo natin different region na damit, mapapakita po natin yung ating gustong i-disseminate or ipakita sa kanila. Maganda po ito, lalo na po sa read ano ito na AP. Sa AP ho, pwede ito, di po ba? And at the same time po, pwede rin po ito sa HE, wherein the HE people can help us sa paggawa po ng mga products na gano'n. Mga projects po na gano'n.
Yung sa music naman po, another performance task which ginagamit sa ibang mga schools probably already. You can have a class concert na maaari po different groups in your class will have their own concert, or you can use the different classes to perform in a specific event in your school. Pwede po itong maging performance task nila. Yun po yung magiging assessment nila. Yun po, pwede po ganun. Ang pinaka-audience po nila, yung buong school. Yun po. Pwede po yun. Yes. So at least makikita po nila na magagamit naman talaga nila yung pang pinag-aralan po nila sa klase. Okay. Just take note po, no, a performance task or sometimes can be either individual, can be group. Depende po yun sa klase ng performance task na gusto niyong ipagawa.
Okay, there was a question here. It can be, ang sabi ni ma'am, performance task can be individual. Tama po ba? Yes. It can be by pair. Yes. It can be by small groups. Or it can be by class. Okay, so hindi na po pwede yung performance task by class. What is the danger or the disadvantage of having a performance task by class? Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
I would go the idea about cooperative learning because in the book written by Untitled, it was written there wherein there is a research where it says there is a danger in too much number of members in a group, wherein the study shows that the number of members in a group should be only up to 6 only. It is because walang basta pakialam. Yun na po.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I personally agree with ma'am. Kasi based on experience, di ba makikita naman natin pag gawin mo ang buong class ng isang activity, tapos may isang leader lang sila, what happens? Others will just sit at the back, they will text, they will play, they will chat, and then only a small group will finish the task. Kunti na lang gagawa. So, ang advice talaga, small groups. Hanggang small groups lang po tayo. Okay? So now, please continue with your making of sample performance task by region. And then afterwards, we will have sharing time. So we still have 25 minutes before our sharing time.